Welcome back, everyone, to our In the Inbox series answering questions that have been asked by folks like you about the real estate industry here in Belize. So this week we're on question number 131, and it was asked to us by Michelle. Michelle said, do I need to open a bank account in Belize to buy property in Belize? Do I need to open a bank account in Belize to buy property in Belize? And the quick answer to that is no, you do not need to open a Belize bank account in order to buy property here in Belize. Keep it simple. And that is going to be my recommendation to you throughout this entire process. Keep it simple. You don't want to overcomplicate things if you don't have to. Now, the beauty of buying real estate in Belize as a foreigner is that US dollar transactions are very common here. So we have closing companies, closing attorneys, and 99% of them are going to have a US dollar account in the States where you're able to send your US dollars. If you're Canadian, you're going to have to convert your Canadian dollars to US dollars, but overall it's going to be a US dollar transaction. A lot of sellers are also wanting US dollars, whether they're Americans or they're Belizeans who have bank accounts in the States. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. You, as the buyer, will send your money to the escrow, the US escrow company, in US dollars, and then the seller is going to get paid in US dollars. Now, you'll always want to double check, though, a couple of things. Number one, of course, that the closing company can facilitate a US dollar transaction. If not, the closing company may have a US dollar account here in Belize. So that is very similar to what we just mentioned. It's just that the US dollar account is going to be in Belize at a Belize bank. Now, you'll also want to make sure that the seller is willing to accept US dollars. If they're not, if it's, let's say, a local who's selling their property here and they don't have a US dollar account, then you'll just want to make sure that the closing company can convert the US dollars to Belize dollars for the seller first. This is typically done quite commonly, actually. However, there is going to be a conversion fee in order to do that. So there may be some negotiation in there where the buyer has to pay any of the conversion fees or something along those lines. In addition to that, think also after you close, if you're financing the property, how are the monthly payments going to get made? So if you're going to be buying property from a local who only has a Belize dollar account, and let's say you're an American with a US dollar account, you're going to have to do monthly wires that will ultimately go from US dollar to Belize dollar to get into the local Belize seller's account. So there will be additional fees for that. However, rest assured that you are able to do US dollars. It can get converted to Belize dollars and then continue from there. But again, if you're financing it, there may be some more fees involved with that. So typically you don't necessarily find many sellers, Belizean sellers, who are going to be selling to Americans who are accepting finance deals. However, there are always some. I know some escrow companies have also acted as conversions. They'll hold on to the funds and then send them on a monthly basis. However, of course, there is going to be a service fee for that. But we've done business all around the world. I know in some countries you have to go through a company like MoneyCourt or a currency conversion company, but you do not need to do that here. And in fact, opening a bank account as a foreigner can be very challenging. It is something that you do need to go physically to the bank to bring all the paperwork for you. It takes a little bit of time, and they're not as open. The Belize banks are not as open to giving bank accounts to foreigners unless they have some sort of business here. So whether you actually have a business, if you have a rental property, if you live and work here, if you're a resident here, of course, it's easier to get the bank account. But if you just own a singular piece of property and you're trying to get a bank account here, it's very, very difficult to do so. So with that, I think I opened up my bank account here in Belize after 7 years of living here. I was still operating on my US account. I have a debit card through the bank, and I'm able to take out money from the ATM without any fees. I would recommend you look into something like that too if you're looking for options of spending more time down here. I think it's Charles Schwab that has an ATM card that you can get, a debit card that you can get without any fees or conversion fees. So that's a good benefit too. So in short, you do not need to have a local Belize dollar account. In fact, I would just kind of forget about that until you're down here more permanently and you have a real reason to have a local account. But in the meantime, you can just continue using your US dollars. If you're thinking about moving here to Belize, I would highly recommend that you reach out to us for this complimentary Moving to Belize lifestyle e-guide. We'll email this over to you. Best way to get this from us would just be the email info@lunarealtybelize.com, info@lunarealtybelize.com. Thanks everyone so much for tuning in. And my team and I look forward to hearing from you in the very near future when you decide that Belize is right for you. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.